Plants are around us, providing us with food, oxygen, and even medicine. But have you ever wondered how they work? Unlike us animals, plants can't move around or even talk, but they have amazing structures and processes to survive and thrive. In this video, we'll be exploring the inner workings of plants, a word called plant anatomy and morphogenesis. Now, when we're talking about plant anatomy, it's like taking a plant apart and looking at its different building blocks. Just like a building have different blocks. We'll see how these building blocks, called tissues, work together to form the different organs of a plant, like the stem, roots, leaves, and flowers. And morphogenesis is all about how these organs develop and take shape. Imagine watching a tiny seed transformation into a towering tree. That's morphogenesis in action. Now, let's look at the basic tissue organization. Now, when we begin to talk about the organization of plant tissues, we are considering that the whole plant body is actually based on three basic tissue organization. Now, we're looking at the epidermis tissue, the ground tissue, the vascular or conducting tissue. Now, their respective structures are uniform in all plants. Now, let's look at epidermis tissue or epidermal tissue. Now, these are the outermost layer of cells that cover the above ground parts of a plant, including the leaves, the roots, stems, flowers, and fruits. Now, you think of epidermal tissue as the plant's skin. Now, to the second, basic tissue organization is ground tissue. Now, ground tissues are the workhorses of the plant world, making up the bulk of plant's interior. Unlike epithelial tissues, that's the plant skin, and vascular tissues, that's the plant's plumbing system, we'll talk about that. Ground tissues aren't directly involved in protection or transport. Instead, they handle a variety of essential functions like photosynthesis, storage, and support. Now, there are three main types of ground tissue. We have the parenchyma tissue, we have the collenchyma tissue, and we have the sclerenchyma tissues. And so let's look at parenchyma tissues. Now, parenchyma is the most common types of ground tissue. It consists of a thin-walled living cell with large central vacuoles. Now, parenchyma cells are not specialized and can perform various functions, including photosynthesis, storage, and secretion. They are found in many parts of the plant, including the cortex, the pith, the mesophyll, and even the fleshy fruits. Now, over to collenchyma, which is the second type of ground tissue. Now, collenchyma cells have unevenly thickened primary cell walls, providing support and flexibility to growing plant structures. Now, these cells are elongated and often have irregular shaped walls. Collenchyma is found in stems, petioles, and flower buds. To the last ground tissue, sclerenchyma. But sclerenchyma have the thickest cell walls in plants. Now, due to the presence of lignin, a complex carbohydrate, this rigid cell provides a strong structural support and protection. Now, I want you to also understand something. Now, in our text, we begin to say that parenchyma are grouped into three from our textbook. Now, we begin to say that we have what we call chlorenchyma, we have arenchyma, and then we have the palisade. Now, when we're talking about chlorenchyma is a parenchymatous cell found in the photosynthetic stem of xerophytic plants that survive in an area, with little or no water. That's what we call xerophytic plants, right? Now, arenchyma, meanwhile, they are parenchymatous cells found in aquatic plants. And then palisade, which is the last, group of parenchyma here in our text, say that parenchymatous cells are found in the leaf cells. Now, on to the next, tissue organization, which is vascular or conducting tissue. I told you that, we have three basic tissue organization. When we're talking about plants, we have the epidermal tissue, we have the ground tissue, and then we have the vascular or conducting tissue. Now, to the vascular or conducting tissues. Now, they are known as conducting tissues because they are the internal plumbing system of plant, plumbing. Now, they are specialized tissues responsible for transporting water, nutrients, and dissolved sugar throughout the plant body. Now, for efficient transport of materials in the plant, we must understand, what we call the xylem, the phloem, and then the cambium. Now, let's talk about xylem. Xylem is the pipeline for water and dissolved minerals. It transports these essential minerals from the roots, typically upward to the stem and leaves. Now, there are two main specialized cells found in xylem. We have the tracheids and the vessel element. Now, the tracheids is an elongated tube-shaped cell for strength and water conduction. Meanwhile, the vessel element, they are similar to tracheids, of course, but they form continuous tubes for even more efficient water flow. Now, to the next thing that we need to understand, which is phloem. Now, phloem acts as a delivery system for organic materials, primarily for transporting dissolved sugars produced by photosynthesis in the leaves to all parts of the plant. Now, the specialized structures under phloem are two. We begin to look at the sieve tube element and then the companion cells, right? Now, in the sieve tube element, we begin to see that they have specialized pores in their walls, which allow sugar molecules to pass through. And then the companion cells assist the sieve tube element by providing energy and regulating sugar concentration for efficient transport. Now, the next thing we also need to understand is what we call the cambium. Now, the cambium facilitates secondary growth, allowing the plant to support its transport network and support its growing needs. Now, there are also two specialized structures in cambium here. We have the vascular cambium and then we have the cork cambium. Now, under the vascular cambium, it is located between the xylem and the phloem. They contribute to increase in the girth of plants. We're not talking about girth. Girth is more like the measurement of the circumference of the tree trunk, right? Now, when we're talking about the cork cambium, it is found outside the vascular tissue. The cork cambium produces cork cells which form the bark of a tree and provide protection for the plant. So that is where we're stopping. I want you to actually check on, the difference between amphicriba and amphiversal vascular bundle. That's more like your assignment. So go to the difference between amphicriba and amphiversal vascular bundle. In our next video, we'll be looking at seed formation, fertilization, and seed germination. So those are the three things we'll be looking at in our next video. So be there. Thank you.